Political question.
It is.
Because for the Turkish Cypriots, from the right-wing Turkish Cypriot, I mean, let's refer to Denktash policy, Denktash discourse, there is no Cypriot. Okay, and in fact, it's a bit pejorative stuff what he was saying, like only the donkeys in Ireland are considered to be Cypriot. So it's very, it didn't actually, his discourses for all these years did not allow Turkish Cypriots officially to call themselves first Cypriot, then Turkish. Okay, so that was kind of a blockage. And it blocked in the minds and the souls of people. That's very important. For the Greek Cypriots, what you said is, I would agree with you that they were Orthodox in the Ottoman period. But if you look at the history textbooks, Greek Cypriot history textbooks, that they are changing now, they started to change it, but the previous history textbooks, Ireland is Greek, it's not Orthodox. Okay, the Turkish Cypriots are always newcomers, not only the Turkish settlers, but the Turkish people, because the Ottomans conquered the island, so they send the Turkish people. So from the perspective of the Greek Cypriot official history textbook, the Turkish people were there, not as Muslims, but the Turks.
What about Venetians, Genoese, and other people on the island?
Yeah. They are there, but it was Yanis Papadakis actually wrote extensively on the history textbooks. Also, Maria Hagiopoulou, for those who are interested, can have a look at it. Interestingly, the Turkish Cypriot history textbooks spent many pages for the Ottoman history, 7 pages only for the pre-Ottoman history. Mm-hmm. And it's exactly the same from the Greek Cypriot textbooks, history textbooks point of view, because they spent 7 pages for Ottoman history and the rest is the Greek history. Yes, of course they refer to Venetians, of course they exist, but the pure ethnic identity, the purity, how it is described from the official point of view, is always Greek. So the Enosis, for instance, okay, still was like a ghost. It's like, you know, as if, you know, the ghost will come from the history and haunt them. For the elderly Turkish Cypriots, was not considered as a propaganda, as a slogan for the Greek Cypriot Orthodox community. As for the British Empire, you know, they called the Greek Cypriots that they were just doing the propaganda and slogan. For them, it was the purity of the ethnic identity. So it was just a normal, expected, you know, result to return the island to the mother. Okay, there is this mother and baby land psychology there, like, you know, for both parties. Also, Turkey is the mother, as you know, for the baby land. But I just want to add one more thing, which, you know, disturbed me a lot during the field, especially when you hear that from people's mouth, and also you see from their faces, and you get the emotion. The Turkish Cypriots, also recently there were some events, are so fed up of feeling all constantly in debt and being constantly grateful to Turkey to exist. Okay, so this is really annoying, and that's why I think there is this kind of created inferiority complex by Turkey for the Turkish Cypriots. And the Turkish Cypriots, that's why, one of the reasons, I guess, react negatively towards the Turkish settlers. And the Turkish settlers constantly remind that you exist, you know, because of us, you know, you should be thankful to us. So that kind of really personally annoyed me a lot, and I can understand, I can empathize very well with Turkish Cypriots.
So this issue have many aspects indeed, social, political, intercultural, and
sure. Yeah,
international.
One interesting aspect of the, going back to the ethnic roots of, as you outlined, is I think with the passage of time, how less of a role that ethnic identity, well, the ethnic separation, or how less it matters. The recent population data that's coming from the island, although again, because they failed to do an island-wide census together, it's not, I don't know how much it's accepted on both sides, but I mean, even talking with Greek Cypriot officials, okay, the north, obviously, it's losing its Turkish Cypriot identity, and the latest numbers were something like over 300,000. Kadem did a poll, I think, and it was 300,000 people living in the north. And now about, it says about 200,000 of them are Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus citizens, but obviously some of them are Turks that have been giving citizenship, and 116,000 are third country nationals, which would mean, Turks from mainland Turkey. But even in the south, what surprised me was that when I was talking to Greek Cypriot officials, that they acknowledged the existence of about 200,000 foreigners on the island. So when you think about it, it's actually, we always talk about the island being 80% Greek Cypriot, 20% Turkish Cypriot. But that's old terminology now. That's left from 1970s when we were first dealing with this conflict. Now it's more like only 600,000 out of 1.1 million. So it's a little bit over. It's like 60% Greek Cypriot now, and even maybe like 10% Turkish Cypriot, and the rest being just third country nationals. So as time passes, I think there's another reason why the conflict is getting harder to resolve. Is because the negotiating sides are not the same anymore.
Are not there.
Or they have other issues that arise from this change in demographics. So.
Didem, can European Union play a role in the resolution of the conflict in Cyprus?
Well, the European Union should have played a role, but by accepting a divided Cyprus in 2004, they unfortunately tie their own hands. Out of solidarity, they can't really openly take an action that's against the interests of one of their own member states, which is Republic of Cyprus. But that said, I think the EU should play a constructive role in this, mainly by encouraging the sides to take the unilateral interim measures which we recommend, some of which require EU supervision. For instance, we had recommended in our report that Famagusta port can be opened to allow access for Turkish Cypriot goods to international to European markets under Turkish Cypriot management but EU supervision. So that's one way EU can be involved. Also, Ercan Airport, the Greek Cypriots can allow charter flights at least to Ercan Airport under EU supervision. So EU can play that kind of a role. And also, the European member state leaders should refrain from making provocative statements as Angela Merkel did when she was on the island, which are completely unconstructive when the United Nations-led talks are still going on and no one side is clearly to blame for a failure in the talks. And she openly came out and said it's the Turkish Cypriots that are blocking it. And that is obviously not very constructive to the process.
Will this problem be ever solved? What's your personal opinion?
Well, it won't be solved this year. Let's leave it at that. We hope so. Like I said, a comprehensive solution. There's this motto in the Cyprus talks: nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. I'm sure you've heard of this many times. So even if they reach incremental agreements on the negotiating chapters, there's always a risk that they will go back on them because nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. And there's always the chance that when they go for a referendum, it will not be approved. Therefore, given all that uncertainty, I think the way to solve that would be to normalize the situation on the island as much as possible. Like I said, Turkey fulfills its 2005 commitment to open its ports and airports to Greek Cypriot vessels. This was something it agreed to do in 2005 anyway. It's really practically not going to cost Turkey much, and it should have been done a long time ago. In return, the Greek Cypriots stop blocking Turkey's EU accession chapters. And like I said, they do gestures like opening Famagusta and Ercan under EU supervision. Turkey can hand back Varosha, like it promised to do in several previous talks. Again, under an under a UN regime, but at least it can return property to its rightful Greek Cypriot owners. That would be a great gesture. Both sides can do census on the island to determine how many people are actually living there and what is the legal status of these people. And Turkey can come forth with the number of its troops and say, announce maybe a withdrawal plan. So all these little things can be done without a solution. Okay, they're not that little, maybe you might say, but eventually these are all answering the interests and needs of the sides on the island. And if these things are done, I think it will create the necessary trust that is lacking, that is standing in the way of a settlement. And most importantly, as I said before, I think is communication between Turkish officials and Greek Cypriot officials. Right now, when you go to Ankara and you talk to officials, it's not, when they talk about another recent, another sort of problematic neighbor, Armenia, the tone in their voice when they talk about Armenia and the tone in their voice when they talk about Cyprus is still different. Because with Armenia, there is some level of official contact. There's civil society contact, but there's also a mutual understanding of some sort already reached. With Cypriots, there's none of that. There's almost no civil society contact between Greek Cypriots and Turks. And I'm talking about Turks of Turkey. Obviously, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots are cooperating on many levels. And there's no official contact between Turkey and Greek Cypriots. And this is, when you talk to Greek Cypriots, they don't believe that even if Turkey signs an agreement, that it's going to implement it. They say, look at what what happened with Armenian protocols. Turkey signed it and then completely went back on it. We don't trust Turkey. The only way to establish this trust is for them to sit down in the same room and establish some sort of ongoing contact. And that is still lacking. I mean, there's small signs of that happening. Some Greek Cypriot journalists were invited to Turkey last year, which I think produced enormous results, but it hasn't been followed up. So that's a really important step that can take. So I don't know if Cyprus problem will be resolved eventually, but definitely these steps need to be taken if we even want to entertain the notion of a possible resolution.
So I can see that you are not too pessimistic.
No, no, of course not. No, we're never pessimistic. It's possible.
I'd like to make the same question to Aybil. From an anthropological point of view, what do you think? Will this problem be ever solved? That's a tough question.
I know it's a tough question, and we don't really predict in anthropology, but I don't know. I mean, I think the most important thing, which also Didem pointed out, I would point out, I will come to that point from a different route, but is the trust. Mm-hmm. To obtain trust among people, there are different routes, and I think many Greek Cypriot academics and intellectuals and the Turkish Cypriot academics and intellectuals, they are doing their best. Before the opening of checkpoints, they did many bicommunal meetings, and it's continuing now, and it's becoming more and more efficient. They visit each other, they do common university projects, so on and so forth. But I think, and also another great point, and which can give us some hope, that they are seeing each other because of the opening of the checkpoints, so they can just walk to the other side. They do their shoppings from there. They do their, they go for hairdressers, like very practical things that they get used to each other's presence in the island, so they understand that they don't exist. They don't live solemnly there, only on their own. I think what can be done, I can just say what can be done. They need to change definitely the history textbooks, even the map of Cyprus, in a sense how it is, the map of Cyprus, again referring to Papadakis' work, how they were using in the school, especially at the elementary school on the walls. The map of Cyprus in the Greek side is close to Greece geographically, so it's just like the perception, baby close to the mother. And also in the Turkish side, the map of Cyprus is almost, just by an accident, is cut away from Turkey, okay, just that close. So that can be done. And also I think it's a novelty also for the Greek Cypriot side that I just visited 2 years ago, Cyprus again, and at this touristic leaflets they put 1963 as a date, and that is also important. So I think these steps can be taken to accept each other's pains and hearing each other's pains.
Aybil Göker, an anthropologist from Yeditepe University, and Didem Akyel, an analyst from International Crisis Group. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll continue talking
Yes.
about this after.
That's Cyprus.
Thank you.
That was the point of view, indeed, points of view. See you next week. Thank you for watching us.